Delighted to be with you here this morning. So my name is Paula Gallagher. I'm representing Tipperary Energy Agency. We are a local energy agency based in Ireland. We're celebrating our 20th anniversary this year, so it's a significant milestone for us. We are a private, non-profit, public good consultancy, and we work primarily in the areas of energy management for municipalities, along with building services engineering consultancy for the non-residential sector, and also we have a significant residential deep retrofit program that we also run, just to give you a basic outline of what we do. So today I'm going to be talking about the PUBLEnEf project, which you introduced earlier, Philippe, and specifically about the roadmap, the energy efficiency policy roadmap, which we are developing for public lighting renovation in Tipperary. I think you have introduced the project already, so I won't repeat it. What I will talk about is the roadmap process within PUBLEnEf. So just to introduce it, an exercise was undertaken between the partners where we looked at energy efficiency policy practices across each of the partners. We selected the best practices that we could find, and we also at the same time looked at each of those regions to look at what the outstanding needs, the roadblocks were, what the difficulties in implementing energy efficiency practices, to try to compile all of the best practices so that we could share them and try and give advice and direction to each of our own public authorities, but also when looking at the roadmaps to try to see are there best practices already developed, already implemented, which we could then apply to our own specific roadblocks. So for us in Tipperary, one of the greatest needs identified under the energy efficiency needs assessment related to the area of public lighting, which to date, both within Tipperary as a region, but also nationally within Ireland, work would have been pretty slow in this area. There are obviously a couple of leading authorities who have made progress, but there were a number of underlying obstacles which, from the best practices, and specifically, in fact, the best practice from Regia that Ivan just presented, offers the opportunity for us to learn from and to try and adapt those. So the roadmap which we're developing in Tipperary is it is at an intermediate stage. It's not yet complete, but it is in draft, and in fact, anybody who wants full details of the roadmap, they are now available on the PUBLEnEf website, and you will find the full draft roadmap for both our specific roadmap in Tipperary, but there are another 14 roadmaps also across the partner countries addressing different specific areas. They just might be of interest to listeners as well. So our roadmap for the public lighting energy efficiency policy is to develop the local policy, the local strategy for public lighting, and to inform the national strategy at the same time. It was to look at addressing the barriers to implementation, improving the knowledge, information, and to try and implement demonstrated solutions to overcome those problems. So what I'm going to outline are a number of the key steps that we have undertaken in the roadmap to date. So the first step was to develop a strategy. So very much along the lines of what Ivan presented in terms of the key parts of doing your audit and your baseline inventory analysis, and to take that overall picture of to look at the lighting in the region and to set out a strategy for 2020, 2030, and indeed we allowed for the strategy to indicatively indicate the work that would need to be done for 2040, 2050. What is key, I suppose, to the strategy is that it is part of a bigger program. There is a sustainable energy action plan for the region, and one of the actions within that plan relates to public lighting and the need to increase the energy efficiency of the lighting. So this wasn't a standalone action, it was a key integral part of the overall sustainable TIP plan for the region. The strategy also looked at the design criteria for public lighting. It looked at the detail of the inventory and the baseline analysis. And then it developed a number of retrofit strategies with detailed business case proposals to support it. And because of the topic being public lighting, the asset management is obviously critical and integral to it also. So this strategy we developed in conjunction with the municipality, and we obviously needed to go through that process of communication to have it adapted as the strategy for the county. One of the items, I suppose, within the strategy then, when it came to look at the financing aspects of it, was the need for technical assistance. And we realised, again, that to support the actions, both within the public lighting strategy, but the overall Sustainable Energy Action Plan for Tipperary, we were going to need assistance, and Elena, we felt, offered us that opportunity. So we applied and were successful last year for a number of measures, and again the aggregation of measures is critical and key to it, that the public lighting on its own within the region would not have been sufficient. So we have a number of other measures also included that were successful in the ELENA application, but for the purposes of this roadmap, we received 150,000 of technical assistance support towards the public lighting refurbishment within the county. And this will provide us technical assistance to help the replacement of 4,000 street lights, focusing on replacement of the highest energy consuming lights in the county, so 150 watt to 400 watt SOX MBS lighting to change out to LED. And included in the strategy is dimming and trimming as appropriate. So that was one of the key steps that we have undertaken so far in the strategy that has helped us to overcome one of the critical obstacles. We also developed a target indicator tool. So this was essentially to make the distance to the target needed to be achieved more visible and clear to the municipality, so that they could see at any one point in time how much work they had done, how much savings had been delivered, and what the remaining balance was. And we presented that the tool in such a way that it could be modified, but it clearly outlines the 2020 target. It goes to 2030, 40 and 50, so that we are constantly looking at to the future and looking at the next scale of work that is needed. And the tool, it's quite simple, but it does provide a good picture to the local authorities. So again, that they can be thinking when they're looking at their capital programs, how much of an investment they need to be making in the following years. We have a number of demonstration projects now completed. So in 2017, the local authority undertook over 1,000 lantern replacements throughout the county. Critical to the process, of course, is the communication and promotion, and we have had the support of the National Energy Agency, who have supported the development of a number of promotional videos that can be used at local and community level, just to ensure acceptance of the change when it comes to the lighting itself, and it has been very positive and positively received to date. We've also worked on a number of technical position papers. So in dealing with the local authority, as we work through the specific demonstrated examples, a number of key questions and difficulties kept arising. So to address them, we essentially prepared position papers and they would have looked at the best practice across Europe. They would have looked at the best practices already implemented across the country and looked at the norms and essentially given the local authority a guidance on what was acceptable. And there were a number of areas on the technical specification of LED lanterns that they would have had concerns about. And also, I suppose the other area that it's a procurement strategy was another area that they felt that they needed additional guidance and assistance on. Looking to the future again, key to the roadmap, I suppose, is that we're not constantly retrofitting and that we are looking at future developments. So we have prepared a number of planning or policy input documents to feed into the planning guidelines for the region, so that future developments, new housing developments and new cluster rural developments are specified up to the same level of what we are now retrofitting to, so that future developments will meet the standard also. And I suppose just to say that whilst we're working actively on the local programme, that is our role, we're also feeding into the national programme for public lighting retrofit, which is underway. Progress has been slow, and I suppose what we would like to see our local programme is leading the way as a good example of how to overcome the obstacles. But we are actively engaged with all the stakeholders at a national level to keep them informed of our own local programme and the progress that we are making. The best practices, as I mentioned, from the PUBLEnEf we have shared nationally as well, as they provide some really good examples on how to overcome some of the obstacles. And we've also undertaken a number of training workshops and seminars as well to assist in just the awareness and sharing of the information that we now have as a result of the PUBLEnEf project, and also for the professional development, I suppose, of those working in this field. It is one of the areas also identified that that the opportunity for training exists for them, and because it's quite new to us and the technology is new and the retrofit strategies are new, it's something we're also conscious to work with the national programme on. So that's it. That's all I have to say for you this morning. If there is any questions.
Thank you. Inspired from the New Light Elena project, are there aspects from that project that that have seemed for you more replicable than others? Was there any cooperation between the two energy agencies? Maybe you can give us a bit more details on how the process went.
Yes, absolutely. Like, we have worked closely with the New Light project because it was our source of inspiration to begin with. So I suppose one of the key areas was on the Elena assistance. We would have spoken with Regia on a number of occasions, and they would have greatly helped us in making the Elena assistance application, because it was obviously new to us. In fact, the Elena it's the first Elena application in Ireland for energy efficiency. So they were a great support to us and helped us in that area. But even on, as Ivan will know, I have frequently contacted him when we were looking at the various technical issues that would arise. They've been able to provide us with their advice and direction in terms of what they have already done, having been there down the road before us. So they have given us their specific examples of technical specifications that they have used, and we have then been able to build them into our position papers, going, as part of the demonstrated solution, going, this is what they're doing in Croatia, here's what we propose we should be doing in Ireland.
Okay, interesting. So this is a good lesson to be learned, to ask for help and from other energy agencies who have gone through the process. So there is one question, besides the videos that have been supported from the National Energy Agency, did you also use other means for achieving social acceptance? Could you share a couple of ideas, of hints and tips?
Yeah, what I will say is, it has been very positive, and there's nothing better than the locals themselves telling the positive story to the next community who's going to receive the upgrade. So we haven't needed to do an awful lot in that area. Now, we would do, in advance of works, obviously people are notified, and we would work through the local existing community networks to deliver the message. We haven't to date had a specific campaign around it. We have let it be led from a local level, and it has worked for us.
Okay. I invite all the participants to ask their questions for the other speakers. I'll invite the speakers to open their webcams as well.